Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. Root Beer here, looking at question 24 now. Question 24 in this video on our 2013 Grade 7 Gauss. One face of a cube contains a circle as shown. This cube rolls without sliding on a 4x4 checkerboard. Okay, nice little 4x4 checkerboard here. The cube always begins a path on the bottom left square in the position shown. So it's always in this square down here, and the circle is always facing out like this. Okay, that's what I'm gathering from that. And completes the path on the top right square, so this one here. During each move, an edge of the cube remains in contact with the board, so that's sort of showing us here, I guess, moving from this to this, or maybe the other way. So edge of the cube remains in contact with the board. Each move of the cube is either to the right or up. Okay? So there's lots of different paths the cube could take. Just for example, the cube could go all the way to the right and then all the way up, and then we're at your end square. Or we could do some sort of like up 2, over 1, up 1, over 2, and end there. But as long as we're only moving up and to the right, that's what we've got going on there. All right, for each path, a face of the cube contacts 7 different squares. Yeah, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, you're always going to have 7 because you're going to have to go over. You're going to start on one square. You have to go over by 3 to the right to get into the last column, and then you're going to have to go up by 3 to get into this top row. Okay, so that makes sense. One square, and then you move over 3, move up 3 in some order. Yeah, 7 squares. Okay. Including the bottom left square and top right square, yeah. The number of different squares that will not be contacted by the face with the circle on any path is. And then I got some options. Some big numbers here. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. See here. So that will not be contacted by the face with the circle on it. So how can we approach a question like this? And this question can even be sort of hard to understand exactly what's going on. So I have prepared some props. Now I don't have a 4x4 chessboard. I have an 8x8 chessboard. I do have a 10x10 chessboard, but that's neither here nor there. But I grabbed a nice Rubik's Cube. You guys know I have Rubik's Cubes. And it just fits on sort of a 4x4 block. So we'll pretend that this is 1, 2, 3, 4 by 4, and just groups of blocks here together. Okay, so it can be handy. Obviously, you can't walk into a math contest with a chessboard in your hands or anything like that. Depending on who you're talking to, you can bring like little props or something like that. Having just like a little six-sided die in your pencil case can sometimes be an okay thing. But don't try and be sneaky with any props or anything like that. Always make sure with your proctor that, yeah, I've got this thing, or have it be sitting there prominently. But it's not really, like, it's just a visual aid. So most people, as far as I know, don't have a problem with it. Actually, just while I'm thinking about it, we go back up. Instructions, diagrams are not to scale. You can use rulers, compasses, and paper for rough work. Doesn't say anything against visual props, but I would check with whoever's proctoring you if they think it's okay, and if not, that's okay. I mean, you can, if you get really creative, rip some paper and make a paper cube. But anyway, and of course, you could just grab a scrap piece of paper and draw a 4x4 grid, and we might end up doing that. I'm just doing this for visualization purposes. If you're not sure what's going on here. So if I imagine the circle is the white side, I could say, all right, we tilt. So notice the edge stayed in contact with the board here. And we could keep going. And then we're trying to get back up to this square here. So we might go back, back, and back. And when I do that, look, the white side is now contacting this top square. So I know for a fact the top square, there is a way to get the circle to touch that. Okay? But there are other paths we could go on. We could go back by 4 to start, and now the white square or white side or white circle would be touching this corner up here, and then you could go over And now we've reached the top here again, but the white side is over here. Right? So it's going to be interesting. There's different ways to get different sides touching the board, and we're trying to keep track of where does that white circle go. So, I mean, if you've got something like this, you could play around with it. I think, because anytime I go to the right here, at least at the start, I'll keep the white circle or white side on this side, and then if you go back by 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll always get the top here. So I can see pretty quickly the top row of 4 out of 16 squares can always have the white circle on it. Right? Right. But so that would eliminate 4 of them. Now the highest answer that they've got presented here is 12, 16 squares in total. Of course we can get these 4. So yeah, that's not that hard. So 12 at most. All right, we haven't actually eliminated any possibilities, but you can keep playing around with it. I mean, we go back a little bit and then start mixing things up. I can get this one white, okay? Or maybe we can do other things. So when is the white circle or white square going to hit? Well, if it's on sort of 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these sides lined up with a column and you move back, eventually it's going to hit. It keeps hitting at the top for us. Okay? But if it's sort of sitting up at the top and you move to the right, if the white circle is somehow on this or the sides or the bottom here, then eventually it should hit. So that's something to consider. So, I mean, that's the top 4, and then this one definitely could be done. So that would be at least 11. Okay. Now I can't really do something like this. Well, now I can get that one. So now I'm down to 10. But you don't want to just experiment around with it because, well, what if you forget a particular path, you miss something out, you're not organized, or and you miss something, or worse, what if you count the same square twice? So you at least want to be keeping track. If you're going to play around with any props that you've made or brought in, you want to be at least keeping track of what does or what can or cannot have the circle on it. Okay. And so, well, okay, we can play around with it a little bit, try and find where can the circle land, but at the same time, we also might want to say what places can't have the circle. Okay? So, there we are. One approach to something like this is to write out all the possible paths you could have. There's only going to be so many. Now, there are a fair number. I think there's, 6 paths? There's 1, 2, 3. No, there's going to be way more. 4. 5. 6. 7. You can see there's going to be, I mean, I'm not even close to being done these. 8. What should be? It should be 6, choose 3, so it should be 20 different paths, actually. There's definitely a lot that we could... So you probably don't want to do all 20 paths. That said, if you've got a lot of time and you're just absolutely stuck on it, go ahead. But I think it might be a good idea to sort of visualize it or use your props or something like that and try and say, all right, this square can be done, and you do it this way. This square definitely can't be done. So for example, well, got the props here while you're back on me. So one thing we can say is these first 4 squares will never have this. I mean, definitely the first square will never have it, right? No way to get that because it never comes back here after its first move, and the white square starts not on it. But at the same time, if you're going to get to any of these ones, you can't get there by moving up a row. And the only way to get over to these 3 is to roll. And you can see the white square stays away from them each time, right? So definitely I know for a fact that those first 4 can't be done. I know for a fact the last 4 can be done. And so we might keep track of what can and what cannot get that white square. Okay, so we might say yes, there is a way to get all of these. And the way we do that is you take the white square, you roll it to where you want, and then you roll back, and it'll go all the way back there. Okay? You don't have to, by the way, visualize this stuff. I just find it helps, and I'm in a visual medium here. And we've also said, yeah, you can get these two, but I know for a fact I can't get these ones here. Okay? So now the question is, well, can I get some of the other ones? Now, how did we get this one? Right? How did we get this one? And you can try and visualize what's going on, or I think it might be a good idea if you didn't have props. Well, how could we visualize this? How could we try and write things down to handle this question? Right? We could use color, maybe the light blue here, and say, all right, I start with the white circle here. If I roll it this way, white circle still here, white circle still here, white circle still here. I roll it up, white circle on top. Then white circle is positioned this way. It's back that way. And then maybe white circle on the bottom. Right? So you can visualize things that way. And that way you don't have to actually make a 3D thing or smuggle in dice or anything like that. And so, for example, this side, then you roll back so it's on top. It's facing there. And now it's facing down. So that's how we got the top there. Now, as for how did we get the squares on the one side? Well, you roll, now it's on the top. Now you roll it this towards the right. It's on the side here. And now it's facing down. Okay, and then roll it up, maybe. It's going to go this way. Then now it's on the top, and now it'll end up on the side here. Okay, so it doesn't hit any of those. Okay. But how did we get this square here? Well, we were here. You roll it on the top, on the side, and now it's on the bottom. Now, I think we could probably say pretty quickly that we can't get either of these two. Okay? In fact, we can also pretty quickly say you can't get this one here either. How do I know that? Well, the same thing that tells me that I can't get the white circle here, because if you keep rolling, because there's only one way to get to this square, and that's if you go right from the start. Okay? By the same token, since you can only move left and right, there's only one way to get to this square, and that's if you went up. And there's only one way to get to this square, and that's if you go up. Ooh. That's if you go up from the start. Okay? So if you start here, if the first move up is going to put the white circle on the top. Well, that's not on the bottom, and that's the only way you could reach that circle. There's only one path that goes, or only one direction that goes that way. And same thing, if you want to reach up here, you have to go up, and so the white circle would be facing towards the top, not facing the actual board. Okay? So there we've got two more that can't be done. And similarly, how do I get to this spot here? Okay? We go back to visualizing just to break things up a little bit. Right? How do I get to the one that's one up and one over? Well, I can either go up, white square's on top, or I can go over, so the white square, the white circle's not touching the bottom, or we could go over and up. So that one also can't be done. So now we're really running out of possibilities, right? Okay. So we'll go back to it. Right, so, oops, lost focus. All right, so those can't be done. 6 can be done, but are these the only 6? Is the answer going to be 10? Or maybe there's a way to get this one here. And when we start narrowing down into specific ones, we might be able to find a way to make something happen. Okay? Now, let's for example say, all right, suppose I want to get this square. Okay? Now, if I get this square, we'll go back over here to the one I'm actually playing on. Okay? If I want to get this square so that it has the circle facing down, what could have happened? Well, I either came from the right, or it came from the left, and I was facing like this, and then we rolled over. And, go back to our visualization, just because, well, maybe my notation is not entirely clear. So if I want to get down the white on here, I have to have either come this way with my white square facing that direction on the board, or I would have had to come this way with my white square facing up. All right? And so we can sort of work backwards and say, well, okay, if you wanted the white square facing up, you could either come from here or come from there. Right? So that's another way to approach things. I need to get my little mouse back. Not my mouse, my pen. Right? So we can work backwards. All right, if you wanted the white facing that way, well, then the white would have to have come from below that way or be on top coming from this way. And then, okay, well, then the white would have to be here, or it would have to have been here. Well, there's no way to get to this one with the white facing there. We know for a fact the white is guaranteed. If you are in this square, the white has to be there, and the white has to be up here. Right? No choice. It's like you are guaranteed to get the whites facing there. And these ones are impossible to go away from. If you are in those positions, the white square has to be there. And so you can slowly work backwards. All right, well, if I had the white square here, I can't have rolled this way to get it. I can't have come from the left. And if I was coming from below, the white square would have to have been on the bottom. Well, that's impossible as well. Okay? So there's no way to get it from sort of that series of possibilities, but maybe you're coming from below, in which case, well, you would have had to have it there. Well, that's impossible. Or maybe it's up above, and then, right? So we could do something like that. So let's put this into practice. So if I roll over one, go up by one, go over this way, go over this way, and down, I can get to that square with the white circle. Right? You just have to slowly invent your own notation and work your way backwards. So that one can be done. Okay? And so that's what, 7 so far that are guaranteed to be done. So now we're down to either 9 or 8. Right? And those were the two smallest possibilities. And with similar reasoning, we can show that this one can be done. Let me show you what we need there. Okay? So while doing this, we know that the first sort of column and the bottom sort of row have some guaranteed positions. There's only one way to reach them, so I've put them in the more striking blue. Now, if you want to be facing down in this position, you sort of do the same little bit of work. You roll over this way, roll this way, and then you come from, so you'll go up, over, over. And again, because I've got some actual props, I can test this out. Okay. So what do we do? Up, over, roll, bam. Okay. So all we did was basically move what we had just done over by 1. And that's all we've done. But now I can definitely get that spot. And so that's 8 positions that can definitely get the white square on it. Okay. And if we had any more, then there'd be no, the answer would have to be 7 squares definitely will never get it. 7 isn't an option, so we know for a fact, all right, 8 can't get the circle. Right? Because that is if 7 was an option, I'd have a bit more work to do, but the answer is C, 8. Right? So you don't want to be going every single path, although, as I say, if you got tons of time, there's only 20 paths, so you should be able to do it in some amount of time, but you're going to rush. If you don't have props or you're uncomfortable with props, that's okay. We used some notation, so if we're on the board and the circle's facing this way, we would write circle is facing that way, but it's on its side. This was circle on the top, circle facing left, or sorry, circle facing right, circle facing left, circle facing down, which was what we were after, and circle facing up. So that was my notation. You could create your own notation, but it is definitely a spatial reasoning question to be able to say, all right, you roll back, you roll up. You could invent your own rules, I guess. You roll this way, it changes to that. Roll this way, it goes up. Okay, but it can be certainly be challenging, and so ripping up some paper and making a tiny little net is a perfectly good idea. And then other key ingredients to what we did, we noticed that certain ones had to be positioned one way, so we didn't actually have to roll everything back to the start. You just roll it to the various sides, and that certainly made a nice little shortcut there. Okay, but that's question number 24. I would say it's nice and simple if you are good at working, manipulating things in 3D in your head. It could absolutely be horrendous for some of you out there. But if you're someone who has trouble thinking spatially, something you might want to do when you do questions like this at home is have some props, rely on the props, and then as you get more accustomed to them, you'll slowly develop the intuition of how things move in space, and you'll be able to visually say, all right, if the cube's going to rotate that way, how does this face move? And you will become accustomed to it. You'll start to internalize it, and spatial problems won't be as big a difficulty. Okay? So if you recognize that about yourself, if you find yourself saying, I just can't do this kind of problem, start doing as many of those problems as you can, slowly, with as much help as you need, and then you'll find that over time, you will get more accustomed to them, and they won't be a problem anymore. Okay? Never run from your problems, always engage them and say, give me more. But that's it for question number 24. I will see you guys as we finish off this paper for question number 25 next time. Take care.